Excuse if you can hear purring. I'm cat sitting. I'm editing this video right now and want to film a little intro for it, tell you like the backstory. Basically, this video is kind of all over the place, really just jumps from clip to clip, but all of this footage was taken at the exact same time as my last video. So my last video was behind the scenes of my rebrand, and then all of this footage was taken at that same time, so like the first 3 weeks of October. But what I did was I like split it up, so the last video was like all the clips of me talking about anything having to do with the rebrand, and then this video is everything else that was going on, because there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes of the behind the scenes that I thought might be relatable to some of you, or might help some of you to hear kind of what I was going through. We get into anxiety and how I was feeling, and feelings of burnout, and setting boundaries with yourself and with others. I was also dealing with a couple like physical things, like I pulled my quad, and I also had this really bad headache that was likely caused by stress. So like all of this, all of the things that happened over those couple weeks kind of really pushed me to finally start going to therapy so I could talk about some of these things. So in this video, you'll kind of see me getting ready for my very first therapy appointment. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video. Monday, and it's been a bit of a rough morning. It is 11:30. I decided, I talked about this in a previous video, that I hurt my quad running, and I'm supposed to go to DC, Washington DC, in 2 days on Wednesday. And on Sunday, I'm supposed to be doing a 10-mile run. I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I didn't talk about this when I first started the running training program because I thought it might be triggering to some people in ED recovery. And honestly, I think I didn't want to share it because I was not ashamed. Ashamed isn't the right word, but I knew that it probably wasn't great for me to start this running plan. I knew that every time that I've had a specific workout routine in my life, I've taken it to the next level. I've taken it to the extreme. That's the disordered part of my brain. If I have any sort of routine and I miss a day, I get pretty anxious. And I felt like I was getting over that for a good amount of time. Like I wasn't feeling anxious. I didn't have a routine. I was kind of just listening to what my body wanted. I was kind of, easing up on my workouts, doing more low impact workouts, and it was going really well for a while. That's also when I started really struggling with my body image. Yeah, so then I just kind of dove into this running plan because it was a family event. We all decided we were gonna do it. And I dove into the running plan and it was going well. Until it didn't. Until there were days when I had to skip runs and I noticed myself getting really anxious, and then realizing I was getting anxious. So then I really didn't want to talk to you guys about it because I knew I wasn't fully relapsing into my disorder. Like I was still eating whatever I wanted. It was mainly just the exercise. And then I ended up pulling my quad. Like I was running and I made a sudden stop and I felt this super sharp pain. So I was feeling pretty low about that just because, like, one, if I didn't let the disordered thoughts enter my mind, I probably wouldn't have ran today and re-injured myself. And two, I probably shouldn't have even started this running plan in the first place because I know I'm not fully recovered yet, and any sort of routine, workout routine, regimented routine, running plan is triggering and will send me back into that very regimented way of thinking. So I should have known that, but not gonna should myself because it happened and I learned from it. So I have to tell my family that I can't do the run. I'll probably still go to DC, just not do the run. I think I'm losing it. I've been alone for too long. It is Friday at 4:30 and it was a interesting week. I barely vlogged this week because I don't know, this week went by so fast. I was actually supposed to go to Washington DC with my family on Wednesday, and it was my mom and my sister. I was supposed to meet up with them, and Grady and I were gonna go, and on Tuesday evening, just started feeling a lot of anxiety over the trip, just because I've been like out of town a lot and just haven't been home a lot. And this was like, you know, a trip across the country, and I'm also in the middle of this rebrand. And in my opinion, like these first few weeks of me working for myself are really important for me to establish a routine. And I just feel like I haven't had that yet. So I was just feeling really anxious about it. I also pulled my quad, like I said, so I couldn't even do the whole thing that we went there for, which was this 10-mile run. So I decided to cancel my flight. My family was very understanding about it, which was nice. So I'm alone because Grady ended up going because his friend lives there. So he ended up going and staying with his friend. So I have been alone since Wednesday morning, alone in the apartment, and I will be alone until next Wednesday. So I have like a whole week to myself, which I think I honestly needed, because sometimes it is nice to just have alone time. I went to Trader Joe's expecting it to be not busy on a Saturday evening, but it was pretty popping in there. And then I also stopped at Joann's for journaling stuff. I didn't get much because stickers are so expensive. And I knew that because I made a scrapbook not too long ago and spent like $100 on stickers. So I went minimal this time. I got these letters, just some circles, but they're like puffy circles. And I like the colors, nice and pastel. 3 pens, green, blue, and pink. I thought I'd just start with those. They seem like good quality. And then one of these rolly sticky things if I want to put like photos or something in the journal. So I think I'm gonna do this tomorrow. I just started this book. I finished Jeanette McCurdy's book. I thought it was really good. I appreciated her vulnerability. Like, there's so much that was going on behind the scenes when I was like watching iCarly as a young kid and I had no idea. So it was just really interesting. Definitely a bit triggering at times. I mean, she has an eating disorder and had substance abuse issues, mainly alcohol. So it was a bit triggering at times, but overall I thought it was a really good book, just super interesting. I had a little bit of an anxiety attack last night. I explained like what's happening with my headache, and when I was in the movie last night, we went out to a really yummy dinner and then we saw the movie. And first of all, the poster of that movie tells you nothing. It tells you absolutely nothing of what that movie is about. I thought it was really good. There were plot holes, and I know that there's wishy-washy reviews of like, or not wishy-washy, there's reviews for both sides, good and bad. I really liked it. Definitely some things were confusing and definitely plot holes, but I don't really feel the need to solve those. The movie was great, and then I got home and I started, during the movie I felt like I couldn't really take like a really deep breath in, and sometimes I feel that way where it's like I feel like my air gets stuck. And then I also felt like I needed to like burp, but it wasn't coming out. So I felt kind of like, but I just like sat through it. It eventually went away, and then I got home and my legs started feeling tingly and my chest felt like a little bit tight. And so I called this like 24-hour doctor that you can like chat with. And so I talked to her and she was like, yeah, is there anything else going on? And then I didn't really realize it and was like, yeah, I'm home alone. I've been home alone for the past 5 days. Grady's gone and he'll be gone for like 3 more days. And it's not necessarily like just him being gone. It's, I think, my anxiety being home alone, feeling like something might happen to me and no one will know, because I've always lived with roommates and now I live with Grady. So it's like I've never truly lived on my own or had, like I do have family and friends close by, but I think last night really made me realize like I didn't feel safe. And so she just had me like repeat affirmations about how I'm safe. I have access to 911 if I need it. I have people around me that I can call. I'm safe. And we just like talked it out, and she was just explaining how powerful your emotions and your thoughts are and how they can physically manifest in your body. So that was my thing. Like I'm having trouble figuring out, okay, what is an actual symptom that I need to listen to? Because my headache was like very powerful and like very, like it was there because something else is going on, whether it be stress or something else. I have another appointment to figure that out. But in terms of like just these little pains and like little things throughout my body, like I'm just having a hard time wondering, okay, what's anxiety and what is my thoughts causing and what is actual pain that I need to listen to? So if anyone like deals with health anxiety and has tips for that, to distinguish between the two, let me know. I just made butternut squash pasta. Tell me that doesn't look delicious. I am very excited. It was quite a bit of effort, especially I've never roasted a squash before. And I didn't even really roast it correctly, I don't think, because it was kind of hard. Only the top was soft. I just didn't probably cook it for long enough, but I was so hungry. To share that I have 3 therapy appointments coming up with 3 different therapists. I'm like doing my initial consultation. I'm finally doing it. And some of you may be surprised that I don't have a therapist yet because I'm so open about, you know, my mental health and everything. And I'm surprised that I don't have a therapist yet. It's just always like finding a therapist has been a pretty difficult experience. And I know that there's a lot of platforms that make it easier, but I used ZocDoc. I just like looked up therapists with my insurance in my area and I found a couple. And so I'm gonna test 3 different ones. One's today, 1 appointment's tomorrow, 1 appointment's Monday. So I'm just gonna, you know, feel it out, see who I vibe with. Hopefully I'll vibe with one of them, because the only therapy I've done, I did an ED recovery coach, which I've talked about, which that was great. That wasn't really therapy, but I loved that. And then I did this one therapist last year, and we really focused on ED recovery and we didn't really talk about anything else. And I found, now that I am in a better place with my recovery, I want to be able to talk about other things besides, you know, body image and eating, but that is a big part that I still want to talk about. So I take back everything I said. That was 33 minutes trying to get onto the therapy appointment, only to realize, or only to figure out that it was canceled by the providers because I Went through ZocDoc, scheduled 3 different appointments with 3 different providers to try and test them out. And apparently they were all from the same company. And then that company chose one for me without telling me, or without like canceling the other appointments. So I just felt myself getting a little frustrated there because I had to be like on the customer service line. And yeah, now my appointment is Monday, not today. And I guess I don't have the appointment tomorrow. So, I mean, I'm glad I got that figured out, but it still just goes to show you the difficulty of finding a therapist and making appointments. I was craving Mexican. Got some tacos. Thought this was gonna be bigger. This is just rice and beans. Rice and beans is so delish. And, oh, that looks amazing. Alrighty, time for me to unplug. The reason I'm bringing up boundaries so often is because I think boundaries are really what, whether they're boundaries with ourselves or boundaries with other people, it's really what either keeps us from filling our cup or not. We're either overcommitting ourselves and saying yes to too many things, or we're only saying yes to the things that we know we can be 100% present in, allowing us to have more time for ourselves, allowing us to show up in those spaces as our most 100% present best selves. I feel like, for me at least, and I think this might resonate with a lot of you, we don't want to set boundaries with ourselves because we're holding ourselves to this impossibly high standard that we would never put on anyone else. And we feel like we can do it all, which if you've ever, worked to the point of burnout and tried to do it all, you'll know that that's not possible. So in order to reduce burnout, eliminate burnout entirely, we have to take care of ourselves and we have to set boundaries with ourselves. I know a lot of you have probably heard this Glennon Doyle quote about disappointing others, but it's so good. And every time I have to choose to set a boundary, I just think back to this quote. Or every time I'm trying to, decide whether I want to say yes or no, and deep down I know that I don't want to do something, I think back to this quote. Every time you're given a choice between disappointing someone else and disappointing yourself, your duty is to disappoint that someone else. Your job throughout your entire life is to disappoint as many people as it takes to avoid disappointing yourself. That's from the book Untamed. And when we think about it that way, our jobs in life are not to make other people happy. We are not put on this earth to say yes to everything that comes our way just to keep the people in our life happy. And I know many people feel that way because of how they were raised. Maybe they grew up as a people pleaser and now you've brought that into your adult life. But I just think back to that quote and I think back to the fact that it's not my job. It's not my job to make other people happy. And also, why would this is something that I just had to realize because I went to something that I overcommitted myself a couple weekends ago to all these social events. And then I went to one of the social events and I just wasn't present, kept thinking about how tired I was, kept thinking about how down I was and how much I wanted to leave. And I know that that rubbed off on the people I was with. And then they're gonna think of you as, okay, she's, a downer, she's no fun. I mean, it doesn't matter what they think of you, but maybe they'll think of you as rude. So if we're really worried about other people's feelings, wouldn't you rather say no and disappoint them maybe for like 10 minutes when you're saying no than like actually going to something and drawing out this huge long thing where you can't actually fully be there? So I'm telling myself, like, if I cannot be 100% present and enjoy the thing that I'm going to, granted, there are things that, are not optional. But if it's something that's optional, if I can't be 100% present and be my best lively self, why would I go? Why would I put others through that and myself through that? So that's disappointing others. We also are worried about, feeling guilty after setting those boundaries if we're able to do it successfully. Nedra Glover Tawwab is a therapist who specializes in healthy relationships and setting healthy boundaries. Every podcast episode that I've listened to her, that she's been on, has greatly improved. my life, and I love what she says. So just look up her name in any podcast platform, and there'll be like many podcasts that she's been a guest on. But one thing that she says is, like, a question she always gets is, how do I rid myself of the guilt that I feel after setting a boundary? And very insightful what she says is, you know, because you feel guilt, that's just a sign. It's not a bad thing. That's a sign that you are compassionate and empathetic. It's normal to feel guilty when you're saying no to someone, because yeah, you're potentially disappointing them. It's normal to feel guilty, but that does not mean we have to rid ourselves of the guilt. Guilt is okay to feel when setting boundaries, when filling your cup and choosing yourself over the needs and the wants of others. It's okay to feel guilty. It doesn't mean it was the wrong decision.